My name is Olivia Mendez.
I'm Chris Lewis. And I'm Jack Sherlock.
I'm Isabella Melfi.
I'm Nick Purgis. I'm Jacob Works.
Zakira Ashby.
We're here to answer some questions about the history of the lifeguard.
For the history of the lifeguard.
Just like the history of the lifeguard.
Answer questions about the lifeguard.
I'm here for an interview for our journalism class on the history of the lifeguard.
It's been an absolute whirlwind. I've been having a blast, but it's kind of like changed the way that I teach, because I'm so used to teaching 10th grade in cinema where, you know, it's always about planning and having like an agenda for the day, whereas this stuff with teaching journalism, it just like, it never stops. The classes for me are kind of more like, okay, well, what do we need to do today? What are you doing? What are you doing? And kind of helping people work in the moment.
You know, it was kind of a run and go. You hit the ground running. You learn pretty fast what you're doing. So it was pretty good.
To me, I've always loved writing. It's just something I can get into. It's something I enjoy doing.
Communicating with people is going to carry me in life. I used to be quiet, used to not work well with others, and now I'm working with everyone, helping people out now that I have the, I would say, the intellect.
And seeing how much is out there and how many different resources you have and how many outlets you can use. Like, you can make videos, you can write articles, you can take pictures and photographs, and there's just so many ways for you to get a message and make an impact on the world.
This is kind of a team building skills, kind of collaboration, being able to work with other people, and also just having experience in kind of the industry. Even if I'm not going into it, I can better understand it, and if I need to work with a journalist in the future, I can kind of understand kind of the process.
You kind of stole my answer, not gonna lie. But yeah, so I'm going into marketing and advertising, so kind of this field and writing everything down and just all the camera work kind of just helps me better to like get into that area.
They're like college kids. Why are they in comic sans?
Not in here. What'd you guys touch?
Nothing.
Not that button. We're filming.
Yeah, I'm looking into taking this class for like the rest of my years in high school because I enjoy it not only for its journalism purposes, but again, like the other aspects that it, you know, can give me. And I like Mr. Nicholas, he's pretty cool.
Well, no matter what, sometimes they're just gonna need a website, whether it's, you know, a news website or they're selling things. So if you can learn how to do that, you're pretty much set for anyone.
But Mr. Nicholas has really pushed me to go out and do more. Like, he'd say, do you want to try using the camera today? Do you want to try using the tripod, the boom mic? Do you want to continue writing articles? Do you want to do video editing? So I think being able to have somebody push me allows me now to push myself more. And I hope that it gets back to the status that it was at a few years ago with like the different history of the lifeguard magazines. It seemed like it was like everybody talked about it and it was like, look at this. And I feel like it's kind of dropped off, and so I hope that it can get back to where it was.
But as far as the actual journalism aspect goes, people always need to know what's going on. There will never be a shortage of a need for information.
The newspaper's been on and off over the years, as you probably know if you've done research already. And it's had a lot of different names, which I'm sure you saw as well. It went from the Liverpool High Times, and then they changed that name because it took on its own connotation. And then we had the Warrior. And so to know that we had the district support, the administrative support, the faculty support, and most of the community support, I think was a high point for me as a teacher, but I think for the students as well. Back in the day, I sound like such a dinosaur, but back in the 90s, we had to hand distribute newspapers to what was homerooms back then, which is comparable to academic advisement nowadays, I think. Also lunchroom, corners in the hallway, things like that. So usually the seniors were the editors. We sort of worked up to that quote unquote honor, sometimes juniors. Underclassmen did some of the grunt work, also part of the process in a sense, but many times acted as assistant editors because that was what was necessary to get it out. We often worked late. It wasn't unusual, especially as you got close to your deadline, to stay into and through dinner, order some pizzas. But that also made it fun. As we passed it on to other teachers, He got involved with Syracuse University when Mr. Savacol was the advisor. And I believe he had another teacher come on after I left, so it was co-advisors. I know that they did very well going to some of the college journalism days and sort of competing, for lack of a better term, with other school newspapers. So they sort of distinguished themselves that way.
Well, let's see, I think it was back in 2000, well, it was 2004, I think, 2003 maybe. We started looking as a department at doing something with the journalism program. There was no journalism class. And so we proposed it as a class to the Board of Education. And I had some experience working with newspapers and whatnot, not professionally, but in my education and whatnot, and had a desire to get involved. So I went out and got training. Well, when we initially started out, it had been an after-school activity. And so our main goals were to put out some content on a regular basis, on a monthly basis if we could. And so for most of the years of the program, we were able to put together a news-based, feature news-based newspaper / magazine. The industry is moving in the direction of online, so less and less print journalism out there. So yeah, Ms. Perry was great. We worked a couple of years together on the Lifeguard, and she just brings passion, youth, lots of excitement to it.
It's funny, I was hired as a new teacher, and I was told I was going to teach 10th grade English. And then I was given journalism and mass media and society, and I had never had background in either one of those. I see that journalism has kind of incorporated itself into my life ever since. So that was really cool. But yeah, so Mr. Savacol was assigned as my mentor at the time to kind of like help me as a new teacher who didn't know anything. And I got hired like 7 days before the first day of the school year, so we had no clue what was happening.
Right.
He just took me in and just taught me, and what was really great is we had this core group of students. There was this span in the 2010s of kids that were just extraordinary. So we had, Brendan Capria, Joey Costco, Corey Crockett, Emily Walpole, Chelsea Wenner, all these different guys who were just amazing. And I know if some kids see this and they're like, you didn't say my name, like it's gonna be a thing. Back in the day, we had just the physical newspaper. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have, anything like that. I don't even think Instagram existed until mid 2015 or so. So to have a newspaper, you need to design it, lay it out, and it's like every square millimeter counts. Yeah. So Sav and I, for years, we talked about, how can we get journalism and media to merge as one program? How can we have it for a full year, maybe even every day? Just something so we could get more hands-on time with you guys and have the ability to do a lot of these interactive things. I think it's great. Media is moving in a virtual direction. There's still paper and there's still, the need for stuff like that. But at the same time, archiving digital information is a bigger thing now. We almost archive digitally the way we archived paper. So we have the history, but we need people like you guys, this next generation of journalists and thinkers and writers and doers who are willing to kind of have that backbone and that resilience to get through the noise and give the real stuff because it is needed. The pits were the things you couldn't control. I actually had a memory of this the other day with one of our early groups, with that crew of Brendan and Joey and Corey and all those guys, and they were seniors and they were rocking it out. All of them went to journalism school. All of them are working in these monster organizations and jobs and companies right now. And I think it was December, we just had snow day after snow day after snow day after snow day. As a journalist, you get to decide what is news. What is something worth presenting an opinion about? Is there something that needs to kind of get uncovered, like investigative journalism? What are we celebrating? And you really get to be in charge of where the compass is pointing. So that in itself is so powerful and so beautiful. And to watch students really start to take themselves seriously and recognize what it is that they're doing is just extraordinary. And just like the pride they have in these pieces afterwards, and to see people reading their work and going like, I didn't know that, or I understand this so much better now, or I had, you shifted how I view this, is very cool. It's a very cool thing. So just having that experience.
Mr. Nicholas the other day, he said, you guys are the press of the school. Like, you guys have the authority to report on what you want, and it's really cool to be able to do that.
I think we had an instant bond. We kind of got thrown right into that at the beginning of the year, and it was definitely like a trial by fire kind of thing. But I think it definitely showed us all kind of how we can work together very quickly. And one of the pits, I would say, actually, it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because I was talking to Miss Barry last night on the phone, who used to teach this class, and it just takes all of my energy. And it's a good thing, but at the same time, it's literally the first thing I think about in the morning and the last thing I think about at night, because I care so much about the class and I want it to do well. So like I obsess over it, and that can't be healthy. But in this program, the journalism class became open last year, with Miss Barry no longer being here and Mr. Savakul kind of passing it on to somebody. It just kind of left it open, and I was very hesitant at first, because it's definitely an opportunity for growth for me, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, do I want to just stay comfortable or do I want to kind of challenge myself more? The thought that this could become not just journalism, but I could tie it in with my video production stuff that I've been teaching, to me was like a dream job. And I know Miss Barry and Mr. Savakul have seen kids go from this program off into the industry as well, and that's one of my favorite things to see is the students that have taken like my cinema class going to film schools in Los Angeles and in Boston and New York City, and then talking to them later on. Like, I have a student who just finished being a cinematographer for the new Paranormal Activity movie. And it's just really cool to see you guys go off and do so many cool things. Like, I can't wait until you're writing for a fashion magazine in New York City and you can be a guest speaker. This class is going to grow into a CTE program, if everything goes according to plan, fingers crossed, where it's going to incorporate the stuff that I've taught before with cinematography and video editing and stuff like that, web design, and kind of just become this whole program that kids can take from the time they're sophomores through their junior and senior years as well. Senior year, they'll be getting college credit, their English and social studies credits, and all sorts of opportunities to kind of go out into the community and do like really authentic stuff. So it all is going to build into this really awesome like 3-year program.